did you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another episode of How to Get Good. Now this particular episode is covering animation cancelling. The last one was light attacks and heavy attacks, so you probably want to watch that one first if you're not familiar with how everything works, because these are going to be used in here, but they're already explained. But it's going to cover all different angles of animation cancel, including with abilities, including with blocks and weapon swaps and all that good stuff, and including the difference between a light attack and a heavy attack animation cancel and how that can actually benefit you inside mechanics, especially heavy attacks, because they're quite hard to time sometimes when you're trying to make abilities flow. And I have a very simple method to show you on how to actually benefit from that and not lose any time on your rotations. So the simple fact is there are abilities in the game that have 0 cast time. They're called Insta Cast or instant cast abilities. Now, as an example of this, if we go to Venom Claw, for example, you can see the cast time at the top of the description is instant. Now, what that means is as soon as you hit the button, it will actually fire, but you will see an animation. So, for example, this will hit the target straight away, but my character does a movement. The movement is just something visually shiny to make you feel like you're actually activating something, but the skill does apply instantly. Now what animation cancelling does is actually removes the visual effect. So you'll still see the particle effect or whatever is going to apply on the target, but you won't see the character actually do the movement. And the way to do this is to interrupt it with other abilities, light attacks, heavy attacks, or bar swaps or blocks. So how does this work? For example, if I try to hold block and activate the ability, you'll see the full movement. If I don't hold block and activate the ability, you'll see the whole movement again. But if I tap the block button, for example, or do a bar swap, the animation will be cut down. So you'll only see a very small section of it. You'll see a movement, but it won't be the full duration. So for example, if you look at this, you'll do a whole swipe. But if I click the block button very, very quickly as I've activated it, he'll stop halfway through, but the ability is still on. If I swap bars, the ability is still on, but he doesn't do the full swipe. You'll notice that his arm stops at the body rather than the full all the way past him. See, that's without the animation cancelling. This is with. Now, that's not too obvious for that particular ability because it's quite fast. So here's another example. The Beast Trap has a really long animation. You can see he puts his hand out, it takes some time. That is also Instacast. It's an instant cast ability, so it activates straight away. The ability is fired, but you can block cancel that. So if you hit the block button very, very quickly, straight after you've pressed the skill, you'll see that my character didn't do the hands out. He kind of stopped. But the Beast Trap's still fired. Now you can do the same with a bar swap as well. So if you activate, then swap very quickly, you won't see his hand do the full animation. I'm already on the back bar, ready to do other abilities. So instead of seeing your whole hand stretched out, it looks like that. Now, it takes a bit of practice to do that, and timing is, of course, key. But you can do the same with any ability that is instant. So, for example, here is a Bone Shield. You see him put his hands together, he activates the skill, and it's on. But if I block cancel it very, very quickly, as soon as I've pressed the button, straight after I lightly tap the block, you don't see him do any animation, but the skill is still there. That, in a nutshell, is what animation cancelling is. You just remove the look at me, I'm waving my arms around effect. The skill still applies. Now, before we get into the light attack and heavy attack side of things, I will have to explain the difference between animation cancelling and skill stopping. So, Dawnbreaker was recently changed. It has a 0.4 second cast time. You cannot animation cancel a cast time ability because the duration is part of it. With these, it's instant. With this, it's not. So if I do try to block cancel this, instead of actually cancelling the animation but the ability still goes off, I stop the timer and nothing comes out. So if I hit Dawnbreaker and block really, really fast, nothing comes out. I've stopped the timer. So there is some misinformation out there about how animation cancelling is apparently cheating. No, animation cancelling is actually built in the game on purpose. It is something that you can use to make your combat smoother by getting rid of all those messy animations but still applying instant abilities. But in return, of course, if you try to do that with abilities that can't do it, it doesn't fire. You have to let it actually finish. Then you can swap your bars. Then you can do whatever else. So, there are other abilities like this as well. This one, for example, does have a visual wind-up. But, as you can see, it's Insta Cast. So, where volley takes time, this is your animation, it takes forever. You don't have to do that. You can swap bars, or you can do a very quick block cancel. So, as soon as it's activated, hit your block, and it's already doing it. Or bar swap, and it's already doing it. Your Insta Cast ability will still fire. Anything channeled, or anything with a cast time will not. So, let's find one that's actually got a channel time. Lethal Arrow is a good example. This has a 1 second cast time. So, if I try and fire it, it takes time, then fires. If I try and block cancel it, it will not fire. I'm actually cancelling the skill. So just to reiterate or go over the same thing over and over and over, animation cancelling is getting rid of the visual effect, but the ability still fires. If you try to do that with something that has a channel or a cast time, that will just stop the skill. That's very important to note. They are very different. Now, the other way that you can benefit from animation cancelling is your light attacks and heavy attacks. Now, what I mean by that is, not only can you apply a skill, but stop the animation to some extent, or stop some of the visual, but you can also make your light attacks cancel to a certain extent as well, because their visuals are quite long. You do a big swipe there, but you can make them quicker. You don't have to block cancel them, but you can. You can make them quicker by applying a skill. So this whole swipe here can be interrupted by quickly applying an instant skill or a cast skill as soon as the light attack is pressed, or a very small fraction of a second afterwards. So instead of this, then this, which is quite long, you should be able to hear the rhythm of this on the microphone. Literally 1 2, 1 2, 1 2. Really quickly, you'll notice that the light attack is actually faster. The ability still applies at the same speed, but because the visual has been removed, you can apply the next skill quicker. And that is how you make your combat very, very fluent. And you can do this consistently as well. You can light attack one skill, light attack the next skill, light attack shield and block it if you want. And that's also a little bit advanced, by the way. If you light attack shield, you didn't even see the light attack then, but you heard the swipe. You can actually block cancel the shield afterwards. So you can make this very quick. So you don't see anything. I did a light attack, then a shield, and then blocked it, and no one saw anything at all apart from a slight jiggle. So that will take some practice. So block cancel is a very quick block after a skill is applied, and light attack cancelling is a skill applied very close to the activation of the light attack itself. Again, that can be done with any instacast ability, any of them, even a beast trap. Now this was really, really handy. My rotations generally have a beast trap, then a bar swap. The reason for that is light attack, beast trap, and then block cancel is quite messy. So what do you do with that? Instead of having the full duration of your beast trap and getting stuck, and maybe sometimes your block cancel is done too fast so it doesn't actually interact with it and you end up doing a full animation anyway, what you can do is use a bar swap. Now I showed you this a moment ago where you can do a beast trap and then swap bars. You can do it even quicker than that. This actually applies quite well with your global cooldowns. Now if that is confusing, by the way, your abilities can't be fired any faster than they're fired. So there's a small delay between each cast, and your light attacks can't be done any faster either, nor can your heavy attacks. But using light attack ability is quicker. You're filling the gap and gaining the extra from it. Now, when it comes to this, you can still do the same. You can light attack beast trap and then swap bars, or you can light attack beast trap block. But swapping is smoother for this particular animation, if you like. So light beast swap really quickly, and you're ready for the next bar. That does take some practice, but it's much, much smoother than trying to overcomplicate things with too many block cancels, because that can sometimes end up doing this, and you end up holding it for too long, and it slows you down anyway. So the bar swap is a little bit smoother. As long as you've pressed the ability, though, you must make sure you have definitely activated it. Otherwise, you won't do anything, and it will just swap on its own with no cast. So there's a very big difference between this and that. Nothing there. That can happen. You can get muddled. So it will take practice. Be clear that your light attack has definitely been pressed. Be clear that your ability has definitely been pressed. And then be clear that your swap has been pressed in that order, if that's the way you're doing it. Now, To make things a little more complicated, your light attacks, of course, can be cancelled with a skill, which we know. But remember that your channeled abilities can't be interrupted. It doesn't mean, however, that you can't animation cancel the light before the channel. So instead of a full light attack and then a full lethal arrow, cancel that, you can actually do a very fast light attack, then skill. So light skill, light skill, light skill. Like that. You can still make it very, very fast rather than this really boring, really long rotation. Now, the reason this benefits you is because if everything is slightly faster, your rotation shortens. Now, for argument's sake, if you have animation cancelling involved in your rotation, if you're very adept with it, or even if you've been practicing, you started getting quite good with it, you could have a 10-second rotation at best case scenario. But if you mess up your animation cancelling, or even if you don't do it whatsoever, your full rotation, say for example your front bar, your 5-second part of it, could potentially maybe miss out half a second. Then your back bar part of the rotation may also be short of about half a second because of speed and application. That 10 seconds now turns into 11. So you wasted 1 whole second on your rotation. If you do that over 6 rotations, your 1 minute turns into 1 minute 6, which means you wasted 6 seconds over a long period of time. On a long durated fight, that's the equivalent of you doing this. 1, 2, I'm not going to do the whole 6 seconds, you get the idea. This is you doing nothing for 6 seconds, and then you start hitting again. Over time, it really does add up. So, if you want to make your rotations better, smoother, and more efficient, it helps to get used to animation cancelling as a whole, but it will take practice. Remember, light skill is very fast, but you can block cancel the skill if you're really quick, but it's tricky depending on the ability. If all else fails, long cast abilities or long animation abilities always interrupt with a bar swap. And that is also very beneficial to your rotation construction. Rotations are made by players, remember. They don't come with the character as part of the game. So, if you plan out your abilities on where you want to put them, the longer duration ones or the longer visuals help if you swap them rather than just block them. Because sometimes they can interrupt the global cooldowns between the abilities or the light attacks, and you might actually be on a negative downtime, and you could end up trying to fire something and nothing happens. Now that is also important for your lights and heavies and skills. If you're too fast, nothing will come out. So it's timing, it's rhythm, it's light attack skill, light attack skill, light attack skill. Nice and quick, but not too fast. If you're too fast, I can't go any quicker, and I end up pressing 2 abilities and I miss light attacks. That makes a big difference as well. Now the heavy attack side of things is very simple. Here is a full heavy attack. That's very slow, long, and boring. But it's relevant. It does damage and it gives you resources back. However, here's a heavy attack, then a skill. You can animation cancel the heavy attack because the heavy attack has finished before your visual has finished. And the way to do this is you activate a skill during the heavy attack. As soon as you start to hold that button, press an ability. So instead of doing a really long heavy and then doing it, press the ability right away. So I'm going to hold the heavy attack. My ability's been pressed. Did you notice there that half a heavy attack happened instead of a full one? It still counts as a full one, but the visual is cut down time-wise, and the ability fires when the game knows it's ready. So the second you press that heavy attack, press the skill that you want. So I'm going to press a shield this time. I've pressed it already. Look at the bottom of my bar. You can see when I activate it. Holding heavy attack, pressed it already. There it goes. Pressed it already. There it goes. Pressed it. There's your skill. Press the rock. Here it comes. You can actually hold heavy attack and press the skill before each one is anywhere near halfway through, and it will actually activate it for you. So light attacks do take a lot of timing. Heavy attacks is actually done by default. You can queue up skills, and that happens with any weapon. So we've been using melee weapons, of course, and the bow, but I'll show you with a Destro staff as well, because this is obviously very, very relevant. Light attacks from a Destro staff are very different because they are ranged, kind of like a bow. So you'll see a full cast there. You'll see him do a whole push with the staff. If you light attack skill, you'll see him do kind of part of it. He won't do a full one. This rhythm takes practice, But once you've got it, you can do it with any skill. And the same applies to the heavy attack as well. I want to put on a damage shield right now, but I'm not too sure of the timing of the heavy attack. So I'll wind it up. Skill has been pressed already. Here it comes. Wind it up. Skill has been pressed. Rocks. Skill has been pressed. Look at the bar. It's been pressed already. I don't press it after the heavy. I press it halfway through. And that works with any weapon. So, just to recap, light attack skill is one way to make it very effective. Heavy attack and queue up the skill. You'll get your resources back as well. Or skill with a block cancel as the skill finishes, or as you're halfway through the cast. Or skill and weapon swap. You can mix and match these all to make them benefit you depending on your own rotation. This will take a lot of practice, but the better you are at animation cancelling, the smoother your rotation, the less time you waste using abilities or movements instead of actually activating what you want to activate. And we're going to go over one more final thing here, and this is for tanks out there. This is very, very helpful. And this is actually on the heavy attack side of things. So, as a tank, the one thing you want to be able to do all of the time is keep up your resources. We must have a shield somewhere. We do, good. So, you will find that most of the time you are actually blocking because you're getting hit. Now, what you want to do between the big hits that would knock you over or kill you, when you're getting hit by the small stuff, you want a heavy attack, but this is quite long. And that could leave you wide open. Well, here's the thing. If you queue up the ability during the heavy attack, as soon as you see that ability ready, that's when you're safe to block again. So, heavy with ability, done. Heavy with the ability, done. As soon as you see that connect, your ability's coming, you can block straight away. And that cuts your heavy attack down by half. Instead of this, then this, then this, which means you're dead, heavy, skill, block. So much less time wasted and so much more efficient for your sustain and your survivability at the same time. I see so many people left open by doing this and this and thinking it's going to help. No, it doesn't. Make it quicker. Heavy, skill, block. So, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. There's a lot to go over there, of course. There's lots of different situations on which this can benefit you, but just practice overall. Light attacks can be interrupted with skills. Skills can be interrupted with blocks or bar swaps. And heavy attacks can be interrupted with a skill while it is winding up. If you take these tips here and start applying them to your overall rotations, whether you're a DPS, a tank, or a healer, this will actually help you a hell of a lot, and you'll be a much more efficient player in combat. So, again, hopefully that helped. Hopefully that wasn't too boring. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. If you are not subscribing already on YouTube or following on Twitch, please do hit those buttons. They are free. Furthermore, if you want to help support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website XynodeGaming.com. Don't forget, of course, there is a join button now on YouTube. There's a membership program there with lots of shining perks, including emotes and badges and all that kind of stuff that you can use on the channel, within the comments section, and of course inside the live stream premieres, which are happening quite a lot now. All new videos are uploaded from myself as a premiere, so you can actually watch live and chat and all that good stuff, except for the stream reruns. Once again, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.